bit, just a little.
Past your big deadline. She's very good. And he's like, he refuses to use tissues. He's like, no, I'll just suck it out. Sorry, that was too much information.
Good morning. Welcome to all you intrepid wanderers who came out in this gorgeous weather. We're going to be talking about the move from dark to light today, so it's very timely and appropriate. And good morning to all of you who are intrepid in different ways and are still snuggled inside and watching on the live stream. We are glad you are here as well. I'm the Reverend Lisa Bovey-Kemper. My pronouns are she and her. In this community, challenged by our liberating faith, we discover deeper spiritual meaning, nurture loving community, cultivate courageous connections, and partner in the work of justice. Welcome to each and every one of you. We are pleased to have guests and newcomers with us, both in this room and participating virtually. If you are here in person this morning and are interested in learning a little bit more about this community, meeting our Director of Member Relations, Kelly Green. There is a new to UU, which I always find hard to say, new to UU session today in the conference room after the service. I believe that'll be at 11:30, so feel free to join that. If you are on the live stream, Kelly's email is on the screen and you can send her a message as well. We do have large print orders of service, personal hearing assistance devices, and an elevator available. There is a hearing loop in our alternate worship space, the Bernstein Room. That alternate worship space is also a great place to go or to start, whichever you prefer. If you find yourself, as I sometimes do, getting wiggly during the service or needing to walk around because your body says that's what it needs right that moment. Also, it's a little bit less sensorially live down there in the Bernstein Room if this space feels overwhelming. Whether you are here in person, oh wait, announcements. That's why it's big and blue in my script. The caroling this morning, or this afternoon, right after the service, is canceled, unfortunately, due to the rain. Sorry if you were hoping to participate in that, but I believe John will be going around and greeting folks later today. We do still need folks to sign up to either volunteer or to bring cookies for the reception between the services on Christmas Eve. So please, this is an and or, you can bring cookies, or you can sign up to volunteer, or you could do both. The solstice service, as far as we know at this point, we are moving forward with that service. I haven't checked the weather, so stay tuned to currents. And I also want to let you know that today's service was initially planned as a multi-gen service. We had to do a late-breaking pivot, and we switched it from a multi-gen service to a straight-up sermon and music service because Paula is still out. And so if there was some confusion about where your kids can or should go, they are welcome to go to childcare. They are also welcome to be here if they're interested in the service. So thank you for your flexibility on that. Caroling, Christmas Eve, solstice. Okay, so the last thing is there is no in-person morning service on Christmas Eve Sunday. I am hoping the plan is to have a live stream from another congregation at that's worshiping at the 10 o'clock hour for you to join in their worship, and that will come out in Currents next week if you would like. But we will be focusing on our 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock Christmas Eve services. The 4 o'clock is the pageant service, and the 7 o'clock is the candlelight service. So we hope that you will join us there. The pageant service will not be live streamed because it's all kids and we like to respect our kids' privacy. And the evening service, the candlelight service, will be live streamed. So if you can't make it in person, you can join via live stream. All right, so whether you are here in person or joining via live stream, whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are here. We are one people of many beliefs, origins, identities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Now I invite you to take a deep breath and settle in as our service begins. Call to worship this morning is by my colleague Gretchen Haley. This world goes too fast to say all the stories that fill our lives. We struggle for the words and the friends that would listen, that would witness this much beauty, this relentless loss, this courage to continue on claiming confidence and joy. Here in this place, let us mark time as if it is our friend, not running away, but offering itself with a new abundance like a gift, ready to offer healing and mercy in the breathing together, and in the silence, in the paying attention, in the music, and in the mystery. Not everything can be fixed in an hour. Not everything can be forgiven or saved, but here we remember this is how we begin, moment by moment, making our lives one choice, one spark of hope, one willing yes at a time. Come, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we join in singing our opening song, number 55 in the gray hymnal, Dark of Winter.
We light this chalice as a symbol of our free faith. We light this chalice to remember the miracle of the oil that burned for 8 days. We light this chalice to mark the nights of midwinter. We light this chalice as we wait for the sun to return.
People have always known that fire was special. Long, long ago, before people made matches or candles or even made houses, people knew that fire was special. There was the great fire in the sky, the sun, which made the earth warm and made night into day. And there were the smaller fires that people made, fires that cooked their food and kept them warm and brought them light. People honored the fires because fire was special. Fire was more than human. Fire has power. It can create and it can destroy. It can bring light and it can burn. It can create and it can destroy. Fire can be wonderful and fire can be terrible. We have to be careful with fire. And so people thought that fire was something sacred and holy. Some people even worshiped fire and said that fire was a deity, like a goddess or a god. Other people said fire wasn't actually the deity, but it meant that the deity was there. No matter what they believed, people all over the world gave fire a special place in their religions. They had fires in their homes, of course, to cook food and keep warm. And they also had sacred fires in their temples. They set sacred lamps on their altars. They lit sacred fires on the hilltops and in the groves. They placed sacred torches near the graves of those who died. We still do this today. In Washington, D.C., near the tomb of the unknown soldier, burns an eternal flame that never goes out. In churches at Christmas time, many Christians light 4 candles on an Advent wreath. During the 8 days of Hanukkah, Jews light the 8 candles of the menorah. At Diwali, Hindus set small lamps around the house. And African Americans who celebrate Kwanzaa light the 7 candles of the Kinara. Winter Solstice and Yule also center around the return of the light. And when Unitarian Universalists gather, we light our chalice. This is our sacred fire.
While most of us have heard the term winter solstice, we don't necessarily know what it means. Many years ago, when I first started celebrating the solstice, a scientist explained it to me in a way that made sense. Learning from him, I wrote a reflection on the solstice that gives his scientific perspective a spiritual slant. I share it with you now. The dark time has come. The earth, in her great dance around the sun, has come inevitably to the solstice, the time of extremes, of distance, of darkness and light. In our hemisphere, we experience this as one of cold darkness, of shortening days and lengthening nights. The earth is tipping from our perspective, further and further away from the sun. We wait, but the moment when the darkness is greatest is not entirely predictable. The spinning dance of the earth continues, but for one brief instant, when the axis of the earth's rotation crosses the line through the center of our orbit around the sun, the tipping stops. And for a moment, we seem to stand suspended in space, pulsing with potential movement and ongoing life. Then, like a child's top that almost fell over, we are saved by the spin and lifted up again towards the light.
If you would rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 163, For the Earth Forever Turning. I want to begin my homily with another reading about the holidays. This is called You Are the Holiday Miracle by Gwen Matthews. As December has opened up before us, we have welcomed in the gift of reflection. We turn toward our holiday celebrations and search for common threads of meaning. We begin with Hanukkah, the festival of lights, which just ended this week, commemorating a time of miracles when the faith of the Jewish people sustained them to reclaim their holy temple and keep the lights of the menorah burning for 8 days. Yule, the winter solstice, invites us to explore duality, cycles and seasons, and to witness the Holly King being overcome by the Oak King. Yule reminds us that we all partake in the miracle of renewal. Christmas, this celebration of Jesus' humble birth in a manger, offers us a chance to revisit the miracle of birth and the desire to find saviors to heal the scars of humanity. Here in our church, you are just as much the holiday miracle as the turning of the earth, as persistence and dedication to a faith, as the creation of each new life. We see the love that you give to others, the space that you create to hold one another's joys and sorrows, and the generosity and spirit you entrust to this community. You, my friends, are the holiday miracle. The winter holidays are a time of darkening, deepening, and remembering, of calling forth or hoping for the return of the light. We tell stories of miracles and journeys seeking stars, stories of the light of the world, both literally and figuratively, as we encounter the turning of the natural seasons, the fallow time, falling leaves, and frosted grass. I'm always fascinated by miracle stories, the ways they call us to hope and imagination. Many or most of those stories ask us to understand the miracle as some kind of supernatural magic, an act of God, if you will. Although it's always struck me as a little bit, something to consider, that in your insurance policy, an act of God is actually something very concrete and scientific. But that's another sermon for another day. In these miracle stories, we are to accept the miracle without asking why or how, to have faith in the inexplicability of it all. There's an interpretation of the loaves and fishes story in the Bible. Do you all know the loaves and fishes story where Jesus was preaching and there was not enough food for everyone? And the miracle story is that he made a small number of fishes and a small number of loaves feed 5,000 people. That is one interpretation of that miracle story. There's another interpretation of the loaves and the fishes story that says it wasn't a magic trick that Jesus did, but the fact that Jesus brought all the people together and they each shared what they had. What parent do you know that leaves the house to go on a long journey to a performance or a meeting or a thing or a something where you're taking your family and does not bring some snacks? What person, with or without children, who gets that 3:30 blood sugar drop and needs a snack every afternoon at 3:30 does not go on a long journey to see a prophet or a preacher without at least a fig bar in your purse or your car or your bag or your, what do they call those, your merce, your man purse? It doesn't have to be gendered. They say it wasn't a magic trick, but Jesus brought all the people together and invited them to share what they had. Not supernatural magic, but the miracle of interdependence and community. The 7 candles in the Kwanzaa Kinara represent the 7 principles of Kwanzaa that are translated to unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. In my experience, the things that I've seen in my life that seem miraculous are a result of those things. The result of listening, of connecting, of sharing what we have, of allowing space for complexity, and seeing each other where we are. The Christian season of Advent is also a powerful time, a counterpoint to the hectic holiday season that roars around us all. So much of life is measured by milestones. We focus on the to-do list that we need to get done before the family arrives midday on Christmas Eve. And then we move on to the next thing. We accomplish something and immediately move on to what's next. It is a meaningful practice that our Christian siblings invite us into, to remember that waiting, anticipation, is actually a part of the process. Because Advent is about waiting, but even more so, it is about preparation. When waiting for a child to be born, there is waiting, but there is also preparation. And since we know the end of the story, we can prepare in ways that Mary and Joseph were not able to prepare. Even when it's not a literal birth, the metaphor helps us recall that preparation is part of how we manage transitions in our lives. And in the everybody shared version of the loaves and the fishes, the preparation ahead of time of the individuals was what made that community miracle. A few months before the COVID-19 pandemic shutdown began, I acquired myself some sourdough starter because I had decided to try my hand at baking again. It had been years since I had been serious about baking, though I used to make bread a lot and bake a lot of things when I was in high school and in my college years. But it had been a very long time since I had baked regularly, though I am quite experienced in the kitchen overall. Little did I know that 4 months later, we would all be stuck in our homes and sourdough baking would become a thing. It seemed that everyone at that point had taken up baking. There were flour and yeast shortages along with toilet paper and disinfectant. Since I had already been baking with my starter a while, I ended up getting a lot of questions from folks who were just starting out in March and April. They would ask me, should I use pineapple juice or potato water? Should I add honey or some regular yeast? What do I need to add to the mix of flour and water to get the healthiest, most robust starter? Well, here's the trick. You don't need to add anything. A starter is a simple mix of flour and water. The critters that do the work of fermentation, the wild yeasts that come to live in the starter and create those amazing air pockets and that chewy, soft crumb, they're just out there. They're around us now as we speak. They exist all around us, and given the right conditions, a warm, moist environment, perhaps with some yummy wheat gluten, some wheat protein to feast on, they will gather and hang out and stay and multiply and create beautiful, bubbly leavening for as long as you feed and care for them. There's a reason that there are twice as many sourdough discard recipes as there are sourdough live, what's the word? Fed sourdough. It went out of my head. Don't tell my starter Neville that I couldn't remember that. My starter is named Neville after the character in Harry Potter because at the end, Neville rises with courage. The starter I have is descended from one that has been around for over 40 years. But the thing about starters is that you could buy or procure in some way, share one of those famous San Francisco sourdough starters, and you could bring it from San Francisco to North Carolina or wherever it is that you might be baking, and you will not ever get the same results as the starter would produce in San Francisco, because every starter adjusts to the environment that it's in, because our microbes and our yeasty beasties are different all across the country. It's one of the really interesting things about biodiversity and wild yeast. But here I go, getting into the weeds of science about bread. Even though we are no longer isolating, and I don't have to buy flour in 50-pound bags to share with my neighbors who can't find any at the store, I continue to find hope and inspiration in my practice of baking sourdough bread. I'm finding my hope these days in wild yeast. From the ordinary task, that tactile thing of mixing and kneading bread, always beginning with the same 4 simple ingredients: water, yeast, salt, and flour, to create one of the most basic, nourishing, and comforting foods. It is a wild hope that I have these days, one that I cannot see or be sure of. And I think hope is always like that. It's not simply optimism. Hope, true hope, requires courage and fortitude, even when we can't grasp it, even when the miracle is just out of our reach. We choose to travel the path before us, even if we haven't finished building it yet. A wild hope, one that is inspired by basic microbiology, the inevitability of tiny organisms, calls us to deeper relationships, to more engaged living, even in the midst of fear and darkness and death. It is a miracle of science. And as we wait for the light to return, I offer you to share in my wild hope. I offer you my wildest hope. I offer you the inevitable hope of microbiology, the incredulous hope found in the way that the sun always rises, even if it is obscured by clouds or not up in the sky for very long in this season. I return again and again to the miraculous relationality of our stories, the ways in which our lives are irrevocably intertwined, for better or for worse. And so, as we wonder what impact we might have on the world around us and on each other, we absorb the impact that the world has on us. And so this morning, I ask you to invite the possibility of miracles and hope into your day-to-day lives as we move through this busy season, full of pressures and griefs and challenges. I ask you to invite the possibility of miracles and hope into your day-to-day lives and into this community. Because, my friends, you are the holiday miracle. This community is one of miracle makers, and we don't know what is in there enlivening us and calling us forth right here in this space. You are the holiday miracle. May it be so.
Our reading is Now is the Moment of Magic by Victoria Safford. Now is the moment of magic when the whole round earth turns again toward the sun. And here's a blessing. The days will be longer and brighter now, even before the winter settles in to chill us. Now is the moment of magic when people beaten down and broken, with nothing left but misery and candles and their own clear voices, kindle tiny lights and whisper secret music. And here's a blessing. The dark universe is suddenly illuminated by the lights of the menorah, suddenly ablaze with the lights of the Kinara, and the whole world is glad and loud with winter singing. Now is the moment of magic, when an eastern star beckons the ignorant toward an unknown goal. And here's a blessing. They find nothing in the end but an ordinary baby, born at midnight, born in poverty, and the baby's cry, like bells ringing, makes people wonder as they wander through their lives what human love might really look like, sound like, feel like. Now is the moment of magic. And here's a blessing. We already possess all the gifts we need. We've already received our presents, ears to hear music, eyes to behold lights, hands to build true peace on earth and to hold each other tight in love. We are grateful to our members who pledge their generous financial support and make regular contributions to sustain the work of our congregation. While the offering is collected, you are invited to come forward and light a candle honoring a milestone, a concern, or celebration.
I invite you to join me in a time of contemplation or prayer, to breathe deeply, to settle into whatever space you are inhabiting at this moment, to feel the presence of those who are near to you, or if you are not in this space, know that we who are here are holding you and your presence in this space as well. This gathered community hears and holds both difficulty and ease as we honor the experiences that make each of us who we are. I want to mention first that we are holding Debbie Marr in love. Her mother died in the last 48-ish hours. So we hold her in love as she adjusts and walks through that time. I want to acknowledge a deep debt of gratitude, not a debt of gratitude, just a feeling of gratitude that I want to acknowledge for all of you on the CYRE team, for the staff, and for other folks who have stepped in to adjust and fill in. In Paula's absence, we are sending her our love and support. I know that she is heartbroken to be missing this festive time, this first holiday season with her new congregation, with you. We are sending her love and healing and hopes for some answers and relief to the health challenges that she's having right now. So we hold Paula in love and light. I also want to acknowledge the complexity of war in all places, but particularly this time of year. War in the holy place of multiple faith traditions is that much more complicated and poignant, knowing that holidays at war are painful and full of loss. So we hold all who are impacted by the conflict in Gaza in love, and we pray for peace. I invite you to join me in a moment of silence as we honor all of the concerns shared today as well as those that remain in our hearts, those that are represented by candles at the center of this community. I invite you into a time of silence. Amen, and blessed be. I leave you with these words for meditation. This is a charm for hope. The first thing to do is tie a string around your finger. Remember that you are not alone. Think of the ways that our best shared futures are braided inextricably with your own present and your destiny. The second thing is to untie the string and let the knots and tightness fall away. Let the burden of bleakness roll off your sore shoulders. Resistance on these opaque horizons only requires one source of strength, one ray of light. Remember that persistence does not require all the answers up front, only one. Fortunately for all of us, we have one response: to remain together through awkward times and happy ones. We remember and we find our resolve in one another. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join in singing a new song, which the choir, the ensemble, will help us learn. I know you will get it very quickly. It's a good old zipper song. One more little teeny gratitude, actually it's really big, to Paul Wilson for that gorgeous arrangement of one of my very favorite songs that I am single-handedly trying to bring back to Unitarian Universalism, and to the ensemble and to Paula for introducing me to that song that we just sang. Join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth.